It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate. You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Brandon
Please
Sports Talk.
feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college softball?
Sure. Well, I played collegiately, and then I was a teacher for a hot second. And I also coached travel ball, which was fantastic. And during the coaching of the travel ball piece, my girls were getting recruited. And I would have to have conversations with those coaches. And I was always, very quizzical of them and like, what's your life like? And what do you do? And it was very interesting to me, like that life, what it would be like to be a college coach. And then an opportunity presented itself with the University of Toledo, and I took it. It was kind of a whim move. That's typically my life. But I just said yes. And from there, it's been a 10-year career so far.
Of course, what was it like playing collegiate softball?
Sure. I had an outstanding experience collegiately. For what is now Bluffton University was then Bluffton College. Back then, they don't have like they have now. Well, I never had. So the travel ball piece, the recruiting piece, putting your name out there and getting seen by college coaches, those kinds of things just weren't necessarily in existence growing up. So I had a couple of options. The two schools close to home were Mount Vernon Nazarene and then Ashland. Both of them were very interesting to me. And then Bluffton is where my mom went. So we went and visited Bluffton, and I kind of fell in love. And the assistant coach at the time was an outstanding recruiter. And so when I was on campus, she, made it feel like it was home. And that was really important for me. I needed a very like home feel to a place that I was going to go to school. And we got there, and this business is crazy. And so coaches changes happen. And then my junior and senior year, we were just extraordinarily successful. And it like those teammates, those women that I played with, they were, and still are some of the best people that I've ever been around. And so for me, in my experience, we were successful on the field, but it was the camaraderie and the friendships that have sustained the test of time, I guess, that meant the most to me.
Of course, what was that like getting to go to your mother's alma mater and get to play softball there?
Sure. Bluffton is a small community, about 15 minutes from where I coach now, which is by far the coolest thing because I get to go down there and visit every once in a while and get to do some fun things. And it's a town I very much love. And it was a great place to spend 4.5 years. To go where my mom went and to be in there were still professors, obviously, that had mom and that had me. And for it to be so small and everybody to know one another, it was the best case situation for me. And what made me successful or has made me successful.
What was that feeling like getting to put on that Bluffland softball jersey?
Sure. So I think you take for granted putting on a jersey. I think when you're 18 to 22, it's something that you do and you love doing it and you know that piece, but the things that we got to do and the experiences that we had, I don't think I ever realized what I was getting to do at that level, at that time, in that place. Now, of course, you'd give anything to put it on one more time and go out there and play. Although I don't know that my body would take it, but I would still try. But it's a very special place for me. It's a very special place for my family. And for the most part, I was treated very, very well by everyone there. So putting on that jersey, getting to play, to be a Purple Beaver, it's a feeling like no other.
What were some of your accomplishments during your collegiate time?
Sure. Gosh, like I said, my first 2 seasons are kind of a blur, but the junior year and senior year, we were at the top of our conference. My junior year, we won conference, set the wins record, I think we set probably darn near every record there was to set. We are Hall of Fame members, which is cool. I mean, that was a neat experience for me, and for my teammates. I started at third base my sophomore year, and then my senior year, or my junior and senior year, I started at first. It's been so long. Hold on, it'll come up. Like I'll think of it. That's a pretty good list of things that we did. I know we won a bunch of games, and those things fade. It was like I said, it was definitely more about being close with my teammates than it was ever about the accomplishments that we had. Although I know there's a list somewhere of what we did.
Of course, coming out of college, what was it like getting started in coaching on the high school level?
High school level was challenging. I think of all of the levels that I've been at, and I'm darn close to hitting all of them at some point in my career. I think challenge for someone who desires to coach the game, high school is challenging because you have a handful of student athletes that really love your game and can match that passion. And then there's the kids who are doing it for the social aspect. I found it hard as a young person. I think I'd be better at it now. But as a young person, to relate to the other half, to the kids that needed a place to go, that they wanted to do something, but didn't really care what that was. And there wasn't a lot of effort put into it. And then there were the other 5 kids who really wanted something out of that experience, whether it was the next level or just learning and growing. So I found it challenging to coach high school softball. I enjoyed it. Looking back now, I could do it better for sure. But again, I found it to be probably the toughest challenge, because I had to find a way to mix the 2 groups of people and make that successful.
What was it like becoming the head coach for Newcomers High School?
Sure. So at Newcomers Town, I think I was 23, 24. I don't even remember. It seems like so long ago. And I went down and I interviewed, and I'm from Central Ohio, and that is in the lower southeastern portion of Ohio. So to go down there was kind of a bit of a culture shock for me. There wasn't, where I grew up, there's Mansfield and Lexington, and there's bigger towns around. So I could go somewhere. You have to drive about 15 minutes to get to a bigger city outside of Newcomers Town. So the whole landscape was different. Taking over as the head coach was an education, and one that I needed. I needed to learn how to deal with not just the game of softball, but with an athletic department, with an athletic director he was fabulous, with people that work in other sports. I consider that, I don't even know how long I was there, for a while. I consider that time just my general growing up stage. and it was an education, for sure.
What was that like getting to work with the Ohio Stingrays?
Sure. Okay. So that's where I found greater success because all of those kids, so I took them over when they were 11. They had had a coaching change, and I had been coaching 18U until that moment. And the guy who was the head of the Stingrays for a while called and said, "Hey, there's been this coach is just like vacated, and would you consider taking over, what's left of this team?" And I kind of looked at him, and I think my answer was something like, "Well, I don't know a lot about 11-year-old softball, but I can sure give it a try," because I really haven't coached that young a kid. And so I went to this tryout. And if I remember correctly, it was at Kenyon College in their athletic facility. And I was just taking a look at these young women who were, just embarking on their journey through this process. And the Stingrays have been considered, like at the time, one of the top travel teams in Ohio. So their end goal then is to get that scholarship and to learn and grow through the game. And I knew then that like we were going to be okay. And it took me a couple of years, but we, by the time that they were 14, they were pretty dominant. And those are the kids that like I got to watch. They got to watch their 4 years in college. I got to see the end result. I got to see the medal at the end of the day, and they got to go to where they wanted to go. And that was probably the most okay, I'll take that back. It is one of the most rewarding experiences I've had as a coach.
Of course, what was that transition like from going from travel softball and even high school softball to jumping to college softball?
Another education, another chapter, right? I think for me, that jump was head first. I was all in. I was ready to go. And it taught me a lot. My first year jumping from travel ball to high school and travel ball to college was an education. I learned, now I'm learning about the business aspect, the budget, the scheduling, travel. I became a travel agent, those things that I never really considered as a travel ball coach or a high school coach, because, they had buses in high school. They would take you places. Travel ball, we just show up. This was, hey, how do you get a whole team here? How do you get them fed? How do you make sure, their nutrition is right, that their mental health is correct? That first year at Toledo was an absolute education in how to put all that together.
Of course, what was that like going to Toledo and becoming the head coach versus obviously having time to learn as an assistant coach and then work your way up?
Sure. That was tough. And not in a bad way, but just there was a lot of growing pains through that, as I know, as much for me as it was the student athletes. And I think, as politically correct as I can say it, nobody was prepared for that, least of all me. But I think it was trial under fire, trial by fire. And so I think that I learned a lot more than I would have because I had to.
Of course, during your time at Toledo, what were some of your accomplishments as the interim head coach?
Sure. So we had the highest win percentage that Toledo had seen in 10 years. We swept, I think we swept Ball State, or beat Ball State for the first time ever in program history. One of the two. Pardon my memory, it's fleeting. I know we swept Central Michigan that year, and they hadn't done that in years. And that was a big home stand, and that was just one of the more joyful things of my life. It was a great day. Like, I can remember the day being really fantastic. But as far as wins were concerned, they had the most wins that year that they had in the previous 10.
What was that like going to Black Hills State University to become their head coach?
A journey. Obviously I'd been from Ohio my entire life. And I knew like if I was going to take an adventure and if I was going to do something that nobody predicted that I would do, that was going to be it. Right. I didn't know what the Black Hills were. I didn't even really know where I knew where South Dakota, the state was, but I didn't know where Spearfish, South Dakota was. And I can remember very vividly, actually, the athletic trainer who picked me up at the airport and took me out and like brought me to this great place. I was when I was interviewing. The airport was in Rapid City. And so we drove about 40 minutes back to Spearfish. And I was like, if I thought there wasn't a lot in southeastern Ohio, this is wild. Like it's wild America. But I kind of fell in love with the area, with the school, with what I thought we could achieve, and with the people. The people at Black Hills were fantastic, still are. They're still there. They haven't gone anywhere. And I knew it would be a good opportunity for me to get my feet wet as far as what this looks like at a D2 level. I had kind of made the decision that maybe D1 was a little different, and I wanted to see, and I played D3, so I wanted to see what the D2 model looked like. And I think for the most part, I found a home there, in the sense that it's a sincere, great balance between athletics and academics. And I'm a big academic first person. So the move was really long. It was 17 hours in a U-Haul and driving a U-Haul across the country. But when I got there, it was the move for me at the time.
Of course, how was that like coming to Finland after your previous 2 stops as a head coach?
Mm-hmm. So, sorry, it's in my window at work. I think the first thing that I can say about coming home was that it was time. I had been out in the hills for 5 years, and it was a great 5 years, but all of my family is back here. And I had kind of felt the pinch for the previous 2 years of, maybe it's time to look a little closer. And then the head coach here called and said, hey, we just got a full-time assistant coach. Would you even consider it? And, right before COVID, who knew COVID was going to hit, but right before COVID, I moved back home and took the assistant job here at Findlay. And it is the thing that you're looking for. It's got all the things. Financially, it's pretty stable. Athletic department is vast and wide, and it runs itself very well. And it's 40 minutes from my hub of home. So it was kind of the perfect scenario. And so making that decision to move back was hard. But I think, and now I know now, was the best decision for me.
What was that transition like from going from being at the top and being a head coach to coming to Finland and obviously being the assistant coach?
I think something that I missed, or that I didn't know that I wanted out at the Black Hills, was a coaching staff. It was myself and a GA for the 5 years that I was out there, and the GA leaves after every 2 years. So you're constantly changing and molding and working through that piece. Here there's a staff of 3 plus a couple of student assistants that filter in and out. But the staff piece is something that I had been looking for, and I didn't even know it. Just the coming home and working through, hey, I have this, instead of having the whole wide pizza, I have this portion of the pizza that now I'm responsible for coaching and teaching. And I like that. I like being able to banter and to talk through ideas with somebody who understands and knows what I'm saying. And not not just on a ball field level, but on like an athletic level. And it was definitely something that I had been missing. So going from being a head coach to assistant coach, really the title has never mattered. I guess what matters is that the people that are around me are like-minded and pushing for something better than what was there previously. And that's what I have found here.
Of course, in this previous season, what was it like helping lead that team to their first playoff berth?
Sure. COVID hit in 2020, and we were just leaving Florida, and we had left Florida 10-2, and we were feeling really, really good about like where we were going to go after that. We'd beat some teams that, people would have on paper said probably we wouldn't beat. We had competed with other teams that, again, they hadn't competed with before. So we leave 2020 and we get home and they cancel the season. And that was a loss. Like I felt like a loss. And so that was tough to come back from. So 2021 comes and we have the majority of the girls back, but there's still that disconnect, like that personal, you can't be around each other. You can practice together, but you can't really talk to one another, and you all have masks on. So you don't, like the freshmen, you don't even know what like the bottom half of their face looks like. So we did okay that season and it was fine, but you knew that there was something more. And we had 3 fifth-year seniors who they didn't all only know that they wanted more, they kind of demanded more. They said, hey, we're going to stay, we're going to take our COVID year, but here's what we want to do with this. And so we collaborated with them, and together, we really worked on culture last year, and we pounded culture, and we had long meetings about culture, and because we knew the product on the field was going to be a good one. There was like very little doubt of that. But what needed to happen for the University of Findlay to take that next step was that they needed to be able to do it as one. So it was an incredible accumulation of a lot of drive and heart and hard work on behalf of not only the staff, but the players, and doing that together. It was, I posted some sort of TikTok the other day. It just I was cleaning out my phone, and it was the last part of that journey. Just some old pictures and put it to a song. And all the seniors that graduated last year texted me and were like, that's the greatest thing ever. But that's just what it was. It was a bunch of people who really wanted something a little bit more than what they had, and then embarking on a journey together to go do it. And that's how it happened.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've helped build for Finland softball?
Sure. So it's all based around the word mudita, which is finding vicarious joy in the success of others. So to get 9 people, 9 young women, to work together on a field, plus have a support staff, plus have, your role players that don't always feel like they're just as important, but are just as important for us, they bought into that sense that if I'm not the one out there performing, that I'm going to be happy for the one that is. And that culture and that drive set us apart from what I would consider other teams who maybe if they weren't getting their way would withdraw and kind of take people with them. So our culture is very much based around the team and being all in and a part of that, and doing it in a way that is not only healthy physically, but healthy mentally. And we've driven those points home, and to the point where I think the kids buy in. And now we're starting to see them buy in when they walk onto campus, and not something that we're trying to build while they're already on campus, which is nice. Nice to see that.
Who are some of the teams that you faced each week in your conference?
Sure. Tribeca University is Tough, Hillsdale College, Ohio Dominican. I use their letters, like their TU. So Tiffin University, Walsh, Ursuline, University of Indianapolis. They're not in our conference, but we played them. Grand Valley State. So your region here, all the D2 schools are typically in one or two conferences. They're either in the GLIAC or the GMAC. And the GMAC continues to grow, which is fantastic. And so those are the teams we face day in and day out.
What is that like, obviously, getting to face those teams like Grand Valley State?
Sure. For me, that was a first. Grand Valley was a first. Everybody else was those are people that I've played before or that we've competed against before. But to get to see them, they're kind of the mecca of this area. They're a very storied program. Obviously, their facilities are fantastic. So it was interesting being on the same ball field with them and seeing where we measured up. It was at the end of a long season. I'd like to see what it looked like in a different scenario. But it was a good next step for this program, no doubt.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to come to Finn Valley?
So the recruitment process is different these days. They start probably sophomore, freshmen, start emailing you. So they get on your list and then you go out and watch them. We are a bigger university, so we have an array of majors that you can pursue. So, but big ones are pre-vet, PT, OT, pharmacy for sure. We have a lot of criminal justice education, and your pre-law students. But for us, the recruiting is about the fit. Are you going to come in? Are you going to bring the type of energy that we are asking you to? Are you going to be the kind of teammate that we need you to be? And I think as I'm getting older or something's occurring, that's becoming a longer process for me. I would much rather watch 5 kids play 40 games and see how they react to different situations and pick from them than I would go out and see the next best talent and pick that kid. Because you take the risk of that kid not quite fitting your culture. And that takes years to rebuild from. So recruitment process, I love. It's part of the game that I really do enjoy doing, as are most parts of the game. But it is becoming a longer process for me. I'm no longer going out and saying, "Oh, yep, you're the one." I have my own method of madness.
Of course, what does the official visit look like at Finland when those prospective student athletes get to come on and try on that jersey?
Sure. So the official visit we usually save. So everything's unofficial until your senior year. The official visit is usually the commits that we have for that class. So the 23 class will be coming, I think, the first weekend in November for their official visit. They come Friday night, we do dinner, some sort of movie. They stay on campus. Saturday, we get up, and that's when we do the photo shoot, which you just mentioned, with the jerseys, and they try them on, and their parents get to come and they get to take pictures. And so it's like a whole Broadway musical. And then the girls usually go to axe throwing, or the team takes them to an event that you can do in Findlay. And then we go to a football game, support the Oilers, cheer loudly. And then from there, it's usually a day and a half process. They eat a lot of food. We feed them a lot, probably more than they're used to. but it's just a way to get them on campus and acclimated with our program, and us a little bit more acclimated with them, and to celebrate what they're about to do that next week, which is sign their NLI.
As a coach, what's it like getting to see them put on that jersey and fall in love with the Oilers colors?
Sure. So I think that's probably one of your more rewarding things that you get to do that first time that they put it on, and they're like trying to fix it and make it look just perfect. And then, they walk out and their parents are standing there, and, some of them will cry a little bit, and that's like a perfectly normal emotion to have, to see, because it's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of stressful times when it comes to college and getting your kid recruited, and you go through a lot, and it's a little bit of a roller coaster. So to see it finally come to fruition, I guess, for a coach, is watching the parents, I think, is probably the more fun piece. Just seeing them so gratified and happy for their child, and then the child being so happy to be wearing your colors, which you take a lot of pride in. It's a very neat experience.
What advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to become college athletes?
Oh, wow. There's all kinds of advice. I think the first thing is chase your dream. Don't chase anybody else's dream. It won't work out for you. Chase your dream, whatever that is. It's enough. And spread your wings. See what's out there. Make sure that you go visit a real big school, a real small school, a medium school. See what fits your personality the most. I think we have a lot of student athletes, especially in the transfer portal, because they didn't do enough research about what they wanted, what was going to make them feel comfortable when they came to campus. And I think we can eliminate that by simply doing a little bit more research and not jumping at the first maybe offer that's out there.
What advice would you give those college athletes looking to play professionally, whether it's with Team USA, Athletes Unlimited, or even the MPF?
You have to you have to be confident and vulnerable enough to put yourself out there in those situations. I know the professional is a little different right now, with it all being centrally located in Chicago. But we have D2 athletes that are on the mound that are playing, and you can do it. Just it's a hard road. You have to put your nose down. You have to get dirty. You have to make a splash. Like, you have to be seen. And sometimes I think that's where people lose a little hope, if they're not seen right away. Instead of continuing to pursue their dream, they kind of just drop it. But I think the ones that are really, really successful are the ones that continue to work and put forth the effort and put themselves in the right positions to get those accolades.
What advice would you give those college coaches, whether assistant coaches or even head coaches?
Oh, remember that it is about a relationship first. You're building up young men, young women in the ages of 18 to 22. And so making sure that they are feeling like they're seen and they're heard has become really, really huge. So building personal relationships with them and helping them through their 4-year journey while they're underneath your umbrella, I think has become kind of shoved under a rock. We're so focused on wins and how to progress our team and make us better on the field that we have kind of forgotten that we need to continue the behind the scenes work with their personalities and their like the way they are as people and how we can grow them there. If you can put the wins on the side burner and really work on them as people, the wins will come if they feel validated. And I think any young coach, including myself at the time, I was too focused on wins. And I think now it's more about growing them as a person will produce the success on the field. That's like the chemistry.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Finland softball program?
Sure. So Findlay, you can find us on Twitter at UF Oilers softball, maybe. Hold on, I'll tell you. I social media. Yep, UF Oilers softball is both our Twitter handle and our Instagram handle. And then I think it's Findlay softball on Facebook, University of Findlay softball on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. I don't have Twitter anymore, but I am on Instagram, and I think it's just my name. Hold on, I'll tell you. Yeah, it's just Lane Leedy. So I'm not real super exciting, but I do have it. We do have a TikTok too. That's under my name as well. It's only for the student athletes, so it's a lot of fun.
Thank you again, Coach Lane Leedy, for your interview, and best of luck in your future at Finland as the assistant softball coach.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon. You can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Lane Leedy, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.